Hmm. So I had another series of dreams last night. I can't remember most of them, but there were several again. I don't even really have a number. I can remember the last dream or so, um, but only parts of it. Apparently, I had a visit from a friend. I guess you could say an ex-friend, somebody that I was best friends with in college the first time, not the second time that I went to college, and they were, for the most part, like they were an okay friend until they weren't, and it caused us to separate. And okay, I should be more specific. This trigger warning. I don't think I'm going to go too much into detail, but potential trigger warning. This friend from college kind of would really like to party and like to take a lot of not a lot of substances, but they really liked alcohol, and I really hated alcohol. It was such a bad drug for me because like I could only have a really small amount without getting pretty sick from it. And this person would take lots, or I'll just say he took a lot more alcohol to feel inebriated or feel the effects of the alcohol. So this person would kind of encourage a lot of drinking, and of course it was not like, of course I'm not blaming this person for the amount of alcohol I consumed. However, there was a time where there was kind of like this drinking game that was involved, and this person and I had already had like a really explicitly defined friendship with boundaries. Like basically there had already been an instance where I'd expressed that I didn't want to be more than friends with this person, and they were fine with this when they were sober, but then like they took this drinking game as an opportunity for some intimacy that like I did not appreciate, and actually it ruined the friendship. And so because basically what happened is they took advantage of the alcohol to do sexual intimacy. And so this really messed with my sense of trust, because I had actually been a survivor of SA already, and this person knew that I had been a survivor of SA, but they took it as an opportunity. Like I'd confided in them quite a bit, all of the details of this previous encounter. And yeah, they didn't really, it doesn't seem like it seemed like they had empathy for this, but it might have been performative empathy, and they broke my trust, and it really hurt. Like it really made me not feel safe around people. So, and actually going from that point forward, I never really had as close of relationships anymore. I mean, up until that time, I pretty much always had a pretty strong relationship with my best friend at the time. I have another friend that I consider a best friend, but we haven't seen each other in a while just because we live really far away, and like it's one of those things where we'll probably be lifelong friends, but she and I don't get to. She has a kid, she lives far away, and a husband, of course. I don't have those things, and I am in a totally different part of the country, so it's just a different thing. It was just, and even at the time, she had things that she needed to do, and like she's older than me by quite a few years, so like we weren't really in the same circles the way that this guy and I where like he lived really close to the college that I was going to school at the time, and he really liked the city that the college was in, so he would always want to go and visit the city, and then also he would be open to like picking me up from the school and taking me picking me up from school and taking me over to his house. Anyway, so the point of this is that in the dream, this person was there. I just saw them, like, and I've been seeing a lot of old faces in my dreams lately. Not the very last one. The last one, it seemed like a person that was almost like an artificial person, like not a real person from the past, but they were like not pretending to be a person from the past, but my brain just created this fake person that was from my past that wasn't really from my past. But And a few dreams even before that. I had friends from like grade school, which was like so long ago, and just such a different part of my life. Like, so absolutely everything about me has changed since then. So it was weird to see those people. Well, anyway, this guy that I used to be best friends with, and I haven't seen really, I've only seen him once since, and I kind of had like a I forgive you moment, I guess, with him, because that's me, that's what I do. Like, I don't leave. He would always define himself as a bridge burner. I'm not really a bridge burner. I will let other people burn bridges with me, but I tend to like, I'll tend to like put forward the olive branch, or I'll be the one to apologize first. It's always been this way. Not to say I can't hold a grudge. I can hold a terrifying grudge, but it just doesn't last, is the thing. Like, it tends to be pretty short-lived. And I don't like, the thing is, I feel like it's unfair to myself to hold that emotion, because I don't think it's good for my health, and I'm health conscious. So I felt a little bit weird. Like, this person, I don't necessarily feel that they're an imminent threat to my safety, but I don't feel also that they're a safe person, if that makes sense. Like, I don't necessarily feel like I'm in the position where they could do that to me again, but I am in a more mature position where I look back on that and I think, you know, this person had performative empathy, so I don't know what they're capable of, and I don't know if this is going to be something that they're going to try and do in a different way. So, what was it? Essentially, they just showed up and they said, I broke up with my boyfriend, and I don't know, I've been playing the field lately, and just saying things like this. And I was like, I don't know, it was just weird. There wasn't much to this dream, but I thought that was weird. And I wanted to make sure I wrote it down in case I had more dreams about them, because this is super weird. But people have been, I'm not a big, I don't put a lot of emphasis on things that aren't able to be proven with like a high degree of scientific validity. So it's not even like just any old scientific studies isn't often good enough for me. I like multiple studies, large sample sizes, meta-analyses. I pay attention to the scientific hierarchy of, is it a pyramid, or the hierarchy of scientific evidence? So, you know, like, I prefer high confidence data as opposed to lower confidence data when coming to a conclusion. And so this person is like more in the spiritual community, and they believe more in like psychics and tarot and astrology, which is fine. I actually used to be an astrologer, and they liked that I could do that. Like, I could do free readings and stuff, and like I'm a learner, and I learn about things, and so an astrology is very dense. You know, there's a different interpretation for every single of the 360 degrees of the zodiac, and I don't really think I had the entire thing memorized, but I had a lot of it memorized at one point in my life. And I think this just comes from having a background in Catholicism, where we were given assignments to memorize the Bible and things, and so being able to absorb information like that, it felt like a life or death kind of skill that I needed to have. Not a life or death skill, how do I describe this? It almost felt like it was an important part of being included in society, to be able to internalize spiritual information or non-factual information. I don't even know if I'll use the term spiritual that much at this point going forward. But I will say that as an artist, and not as a person who is spiritual, but as an artist, I enjoy certain things that are typically associated with the spiritual community and not the scientific community, but I don't interpret them as science, and I don't interpret them as truth. I interpret them as artwork, and also I interpret them as psychological tools, like a bit like Rorschach tests. So astrology can be like a Rorschach test. Tarot can be a bit like a Rorschach test. And sometimes when you are like, for me, I don't want to go in and think about the darker aspects of my thoughts unprompted. And so if I go online, like on YouTube, I can get people to pull tarot cards for me. Like, there's hundreds of channels on YouTube, that do tarot readings for free, or they do it for everyone, for a collective, for free. And so I can go and just get like some images, some beautiful pictures that I feel like can be inspiring for my own artwork, but also I can get psychological, these images are also have psychological implications. They have very universalized archetypes that can do a pretty good job at pulling things out of my subconscious that I otherwise wouldn't really want to think that much about. And I have to point out that in some of these tarot readings lately, they've been implying that a person, not this person, but a person very similar to this person, might be interested in reconnecting, and I'm very much concerned about this because this person actually sent me a gift on Steam. Steam is a website for video games, and you can buy, it's like pretty much all digital purchases, so you can buy games for yourself or another person and send it to them as a gift. And so this person bought me something and sent it to me as a gift, and it fit pretty well with the tarot reading that this person was going to come back into my life, or, you know, try to start that process. And it makes me a little bit concerned because not so much of what anything in the tarot reading was saying, but it makes me actually think about this person and think, do I want this person back in my life? And now that I'm having a dream about them, I'm thinking about them again and thinking about this question again, do I want this person back in my life? And the thing is, I've changed a lot. I've changed so much since this experience happened. This happened about 10 years ago. And so my belief is that, and a lot of people do not share this belief of mine, so you may disagree with this. And I can totally see your perspective, but I will say that I'm open to the possibility that this person I'm open to the possibility that people can change and that this person has changed. I just don't have any evidence of it. And again, like I told you, I may be able to sip and enjoy spiritual content and artwork like a connoisseur, but it isn't something I will imbibe and try to sustain my life on as if it is truth or as if it is nourishment, because sometimes it can be, but it's not really what life is about. Like, think about it this way. If you spent all of your life doing nothing, and you could, with the size of YouTube, you could spend your entire life consuming nothing but psychics and tarot content for free. But what would the point in that be? Because you wouldn't be living any life, and it would therefore be unable to be predictive of anything. Not that I recommend that any of these should be used as predictive mechanisms. I don't necessarily think they can be. Now, I think an AI might be able to use them, but that would be the AI doing it. It wouldn't necessarily be the tarot cards. Could the tarot cards have this potential? I'm not even going to debate that. I've mentioned previously in my previous videos, I'm agnostic about a lot of things. Definitely agnostic about anything remotely as gigantic as a god. I'm very agnostic. And when it comes to something like this, I don't even know how much it matters. So I will say I'm agnostic, but I may lean more towards, sometimes in my life, I may lean more towards the doubtful side. And maybe in other times in life, I'll lean more towards the speculative side. But right now, it's just one of those things where I don't really see, I see a real danger and a waste of time in a sense in doing nothing but consuming spiritual content, just because it's especially particularly for predictive purposes. Now if you're exploring this content for psychological reasons and you're not looking at any content proclaiming to be predictive, you're looking at contemplative material, that is a completely different thing, because while you still shouldn't be doing it all the time, because you should go out and live your life, you're using this now for more of a therapy. And if you're using it for therapy or art therapy, that is a valid thing. And even in science, art therapy is a valid thing, and music therapy and stuff, and potentially other things like ASMR and just calming activities. So I see definitely some merit to using it as an art therapy, but I don't know. I'd be interested to see what you think. Now, I didn't really get too much into the dream. What was the dream, you're probably saying? It was just that. It was just like this person kind of showing up somewhere. I don't know where we were. I can't remember seeing much of the background. It was kind of a dark background with orange and yellow hues, maybe reddish orange, yellow, lower spectrum color hues. And this person was just like there, kind of wearing the clothes I remember them wearing from the past. Like maybe they looked a little bit older, but hardly could tell. Like there wasn't a lot different about them. And just a few days, or just in a few years actually, after we went our separate ways, this person developed a lot of health issues. They gained a lot of weight. I don't know if that's guilt or just going through things in their life. We really went in different paths. Like, you know, this person got less healthy, I got more healthy. That was many years ago since I last saw this person. It was many, many years. It was like, it's been 5 to 8, somewhere between 5 to 8 years since the last time I saw them. And last time I saw them, it was kind of like in this big friend group. There wasn't drinking involved. Actually, there was marijuana involved, but I denied, or they offered alcohol and tobacco products, and I denied both the alcohol and the tobacco products. They knew that I'd quit tobacco by that time, and that it was like a hard quit, and that I was not okay with it. So I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, anyway, it was actually a really good experience. There was a small group of them and their friends. I think one of the people that was there was the person that they were in a relationship with, so I felt less like a target, or not a target, but less like a option. Like I felt like he wasn't an option, which maybe made me feel better in some way. I don't know if it should have. But anyway, that's kind of my thought process. I more wanted to write this down for me in case this person arrives in another forum later on. There's no way they could have followed me to the place that I moved to. They're just not that savvy. They're not that tech savvy. They wouldn't know. But they fit the description. The tarot cards were saying that this person was likely a Taurus or a Virgo. This person that was kind of fucking with my life. There's a lot of gossiping, a lot of lying that was going on with like some people in my life for a long period of time. And I just extracted myself from the situation and said, okay, I don't care. Like, I don't give a shit. I'm a very truth-oriented person. That is part of my psychedelic journey, is to stop lying to myself, essentially, or like in any little way that I know that I don't know I'm currently lying to myself. The intention is to find out any places that I still am, and clearing it, so that way I don't have to kind of keep dwelling in the past, getting pulled back to the past, getting stuck in things that are preventing me from moving forward. And part of that would be deception. So I kind of associate some of these people with deception. They aren't like the most artful liars, but they're like, their earthiness and they're materialistic enough that they will want to lie to shape reality so that it conforms to their self-image, and they will want to look like the good person. They will also want to keep a lot of their flaws hidden, but they're not. And they do, and because they have that, they do have a tendency to just this general kind of gaslight, but they don't do a whole lot of like the sadistic lying that has been part of the past, where, I mean, I met a member of my family who had been through, trigger warning, but I won't be going into details, but a person who had gone through a significant amount of SA, and also physical abuse and violence, like assault, like physical assault and stuff. And this person, as I started to get to know them more and more, and I do believe all of these things were true and all of these assaults happened, but they started gaslighting me to my face in more of a sadistic way. And by a sadistic way, I mean, they would tell me that something that had just happened right in front of my face did not happen. It's like one of the most blatant forms of gaslight. I'm like, no, you can't. Like, I'm not blind, deaf, I'm not psychotic, I'm not depressed or manic, I'm not in a psychotic episode. I wasn't asleep and I wasn't on drugs. Well, I might have been stoned, but I had all of my faculties there in order to know that what you said didn't happen actually did happen. So this was a sibling of mine. I'll just say it was a half sister, a biological half sister. And there's a lot of things family can do to you that hurts. This by far is one of the things that drives me the most crazy, just because when you are in a position like mine where you're adopted and you put yourself out there to kindle like a brand new fragile relationship with somebody after feeling like you really haven't ever had a place, you've always felt out of place, and like wanting to know your roots and where you come from. And when you put yourself, out there to try and connect with somebody and they sever this connection in such like a violent, like a emotionally violent way with like such a strong gaslight. And there was multiple gaslights. So there was a public humiliation gaslight that happened where she tried to publicly humiliate her boyfriend in front of a room of like 50 plus people. And it was in a public place. A lot of these people, none of us knew. And I was like, yo, like, stop. We're not doing this right now. And I contradicted her even slightly, and it became a full-blown shouting match, and she ran out of the room because she felt like the tables had turned on her. Even though she tried to do public humiliation in front of all these people, then I didn't play along, and it, to her, felt like the tables had flipped on her, so she felt embarrassed and ran out. And I was like, look, and we got out later, and as penance for this, she was like, you need to buy me marijuana, like, you need to give me all of your weed. And I was like, look, I didn't say this at the time, but what I would have said if she hadn't kept talking over me is that this is my weed. Maybe I'll buy you a bag of weed, but like, you're not going to take my stuff. Like, you're not just going to take it, and like, you do need to ask. Like, first of all, you can't just demand it. Like, just ask for it. You don't have to beg, but you also can't just demand for it. You just have a normal conversation and say a normal sentence and say, can I please have my own bag of weed? And she's like, I'm pregnant. I need weed because I'm pregnant. And it's like, well, I don't even care. Like, you said you're getting an abortion, so you can smoke as much weed as you want, but like, I do feel weird enabling it. And also, you can't just take it from me. So this has been a thing. This has been a difficult thing. I don't really want to say that there is an astrological component to this, but every single one of these people that I've mentioned in these videos lately, no, not every single one, particularly the half-sister, the ex-best friend, and that guy that met me in the bar that was just like throwing himself at me, they all have Leo, like, very prominently in their chart. I just want to say to all the Leos out there, there was another friend that I just tried to text recently who never texted me back. I wonder if she changed her phone number or something. Now, she's like the awesome Leo. She is like the third decanate Leo, like the Leo with the Sagittarius influence. She's like the Leo that is a philosopher and like an artist and just an art appreciator and just like full of love. These other Leos are very Aryan Leos, where they're very much predatory and like animals of predation and hunting and taking things. They're very materialistic and they're very into taking things. And I just have kind of had it with the territorial Leos, okay? Like, I've really had it with the territorial Leos. As a Libra, I don't have any Leo in my chart. I have a sensitive point in Leo. It's my midheaven. Oh, and I have one planet, I guess you could say, called Chiron in Leo. Now, Chiron is a really weird planet to have in Leo because Leo is about saving face, looking complete, looking whole, looking healthy, it's all about appearances. It's all about projection, radiating the type of impression you want other people to see, not so much the truth. But the thing about Chiron is about the truth of who you are at the core of your being, and it's inherently a wounded point. It's not necessarily a part of in astrology. Again, I'm not saying I believe in this, but at the core of what Chiron is not so much a personal planetary point, like a part of the personality. It's actually more of a external incident or event that wounds you. And so having Chiron in Leo doesn't represent as much a part of my personality that exhibits Leo tendencies. What it actually represents is the manner in which I've been abused. And so in this case, it means being publicly shamed and humiliated. That's my Chiron. So being publicly shamed and ridiculed is a place in my life that has happened over and over and over and over and over and over again by so many different people that it's kind of become that part of my chart where I'm really numb. So I'm getting to this point in my life where more than not caring what people think, like almost kind of hating public opinion. Like I think people are very, like the public and what tends to be popular, the popular zeitgeist tends to be very incorrect, very factually wrong. For example, eating meat, most people do it. I think it's wrong, and I don't give a fuck what people think about that. Like, people are wrong. A lot of people are wrong in the things that they do. The vast majority of people are not informed and educated. Like, for example, I love Native American people. I just went to a powwow. It was the second powwow I've ever been. The first one I went to was in Denver. This powwow was in Portland. Now, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever been to. It might even be more beautiful than Pride. It is more beautiful than Pride. Being like one of the only other like very rainbow themed events. However, there's a big problem with powwows. I was going around and there were about 8 to 12, and some of them were closed and some of them were open and opening at different times. So I don't know exactly what the full size, but about 8 to 12 different food trucks and food places at this Native American powwow. Well, they all were selling fried food. I do not eat fried food. Well, I will occasionally have one, maybe once a month or once every couple of weeks, but to me it's very much like alcohol. And let me explain. So alcohol is a very, very dangerous poison. The FDA used to say you could have a lot of alcohol, and now they've said you should not have more than 1 to 2 glasses of alcohol every week, no more than 1 to 2 glasses of alcohol. That's how serious it's considered a carcinogen, and it's more than that. It's a tooth demineralizer. It's a very powerful drug that operates on more biogenic amines than other drugs. It affects GABA, glutamate, dopamine, serotonin. It messes with the sleep cycle. It has really, really dangerous withdrawal symptoms. Alcohol is a very hard drug, and like our society doesn't consider it that way. So this is another way in which society is wrong and I am right. I am right, and the science is right. And it's not just me. I didn't get this. I didn't create this. I didn't come up with this. I didn't do the work. I listened to the experts, and the experts are correct that it's a much harder drug than anyone ever considered. Well, back to this Native American powwow. There wasn't any alcohol there because NARA was there, Native American Recovery Association, or whatever it is called. So they focus on getting people clean from drugs. So of course they couldn't have real drugs there. So what did they have instead? They had food-related drugs. And what do I mean by that? Fried foods. Fried foods are the new alcohol. A lot of people think that I don't care if I can't drink, if I can't smoke tobacco, then I'm going to have fried foods and I'm going to get really, really fat. Okay, so a lot of the people at this Native American powwow were really, really fat. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm totally fine with like overweight beauty, overweight, not so much celebration of only being overweight, but celebration of people who happen to be overweight and seeing that as beautiful. Them as beautiful, not the overweight as beautiful, but seeing people who happen to be overweight as beautiful. That's okay. But it is hypocritical to not have alcohol at an event because it's a drug and have only meat and fried foods at this event because those are also drugs. Not so much the meat, but fried foods are definitely a drug. Why? Because they flood the body. They're actually building blocks for neurotransmitters, and they flood the body with neurotransmitters. That's not even where the damage. That's where the damage begins. That's not even where it ends. So, fried foods do mitochondrial damage. What are mitochondria? Mitochondria is what make all of your cells, every single cell in your body, have energy. So this isn't just like energy created, like a false sense of energy created from a stimulant or from caffeine. This is like the actual true energy in the core of your body. And mitochondrial damage, what it does is it prevents, so this fried food, all of these fat, not cells, excuse me, all these fat molecules will get inside the cells of your body. The fat molecules will go inside and they will be stored really close to the cells so that they can be quickly released as energy. Also, fat molecules will be stored inside muscle cells in particular, because it's not really safe to have free-floating fat in your body. It's problematic if it gets to the brain. It becomes, a lot of this is, we're talking saturated fats here, we're talking trans fats, and so a lot of these are very dangerous, carcinogenic. They do damage to the cells, and the body has a variety of things that it needs to do in order to make sure that your body is safe. One of those things is that what ends up happening is these people become over and underfed. So they're overfed in terms of they have way too many macronutrients, and they're underfed in that they have way too few micronutrients. Micronutrients, we're talking about metals, and we're talking about all of the nutrients like zinc, potassium, phosphorus, magnesium, iron, calcium. Like we're talking, not calcium, because calcium is really abundant, but we're talking about a lot of these like elements. We're talking like elements as nutrition, normally, just elements as nutrition. When I'm saying macronutrients, I'm talking water, fiber, fat, carbohydrates, proteins, and technically alcohol, because alcohol is technically a calorie. That is in the form of a macronutrient. So what happens is you get too many macronutrients and too few micronutrients while consuming things like fat and alcohol. So alcohol is a source of energy. Actually, it's true of carbohydrates. Alcohol, carbohydrates, and to a much lesser extent, to about half as much the extent, but still to some extent. And then also fat. And so a lot of this fried food, really, really damaging, and really like, it's kind of like a low-key thing that a lot of people don't know is extremely dangerous, and it is a drug, because it's consumed as a drug would be consumed for pleasure, and it's not consumed as the food would be consumed for nourishment. It's doing the opposite. So your body ends up not getting enough micronutrients. It becomes convinced that it's starving, but it's getting too many macronutrients, meaning too many fat molecules, too many calories. So it's already planning on storing all of this as fat. And then you add fat on the body. It's already going to do this because it's lacking enough nourishment in terms of micronutrients. So the body thinks it's starving. And then you add to that you're eating way above the number of calories you need in a day. So that is a recipe made for metabolic crisis and disaster. And you have people who are gigantic. We're looking at a situation where this is an impulse control issue and an addiction issue, but it's not really treated as such. And that is definitely a bit of a tangent from my dream and from this person. However, I'll just say that some of this Leo energy has really been relying on the hypocrisy of society, and it's really not been these Leos are not courageous. They are not courageous. They won't face society and say, no, I'm not going to do what everybody else is doing. I'm not going to put that in my mouth. They won't do that. They won't say, no, that's not the way we treat animals or people. We can set a higher standard for each other and ourselves. They don't do that. And that is my prerequisite of courage. And it's not just courage now. This is an evolutionary imperative. If we don't start changing the way that we treat our own bodies and the way we start treating animals, we are going to have a catastrophe on this planet, the likes that people have not been able to fathom and have not been able to imagine. And you have people like me who are not requiring hospitalization, doctor's trips, vitamins, surgeries, all these types of things, because I'm doing the things that I need to do. I'm taking care of my health, and I'm also teaching others how to be healthy, yet I have to pay taxes for people who are not properly being recognized as hypocrites for treating food as a drug. And these people will turn around and point the finger at other people. They'll point the finger at other people who are doing drugs and say, you shouldn't be doing that. Well, honestly, I might prefer that you do cocaine to taking alcohol and fried food in the amount and quantities that you are consuming them. Just because it's legal doesn't mean it's healthier than something that is illegal. So I just put that out there. This is like very much a Leo theme for me right now. The Leo energy needs an upgrade. Okay, if you're a Leo, you need an upgrade. You need to meditate on what real courage is, because it might not be what you think it is. And it really needs to peel apart from your concept of what ego is. Like, you need to not think that you deserve a reward for being courageous. You need to not think that you deserve love and admiration for the things you do. You deserve love and admiration anyway. You shouldn't get more love or less love because you are doing the stereotypes that society says are what would make you considered brave or included, or the merits that society puts on things. And because so many of you haven't done the work and don't know where these things come from. So many of you haven't been educated from this free information that's abundantly available online that anyone can go and look up, where you could learn that the staples in our society, the food staples, the beliefs, the religious ideas that you so much want to fit into, and you want to be part of the crowd, and you want to lead. You don't care where the crowd is going. You just want to be in front, leading that. Well, you've been put in a position where that is being controlled by corporations that actually want everyone to be killed, basically. Like, a lot of the people who are selling food and selling and pushing alcohol and pushing tobacco, a lot of these corporations generally want people to be killed. I'm sorry, but they want depopulation of the planet. And I kind of do too, but not like that. I don't believe in harming people's DNA, making people infertile by feeding them high-fat foods, tobacco, alcohol products, chemicals in the food and water, chemicals in the birth control, all this messed up stuff in order to make people have less babies and to become infertile. I don't believe that's the way. There's only one thing we need to do for depopulation, in my opinion, and it's very peaceful. It's to not have children. It's really, really easy. More people can be gay. More people can be gay, and we can have less children, and it's totally fine. Wow, imagine that. Imagine doing things the right way instead of going out and doing things in the violent, wrong, religious way and being a hypocrite. So, again, if you're a Leo and you think that I've somehow done you wrong, I apologize. I invite you to have like a reasoned debate with me. I invite you to put your face on camera, and I invite you to do brave things and to look at the facts and the science and realize that Leo is often about charisma and attention and confidence and bravery. Well, I want you to think about the fact that that's also really important in science. Not all of those things, but the one thing from those things that is important in science is confidence. And why it's important is because the confidence that we have in something being true or untrue is basically how we get it's the goal for scientific hierarchy of information. So the validity of a study versus a meta-analysis is derived, or is how we derive the confidence that we know something. And so if you really truly want to be confident, that requires that you face the truth. So that way you can have, and by truth, I mean facts and the science. It's not just being bold and brash and ballsy. It's about not being lazy and doing the work and putting in the time to look at the research. And when you do that, then you will actually have true confidence that's based and founded on something that's real, and you will no longer be a hypocrite, and you'll no longer be at risk. So every critique that I have made, of that energy, I don't believe in astrology, but that Leo energy that you're describing, that Leo archetype, that personality structure, I have also provided you the solution. And the solution is that you go and put in the work and don't be lazy, and you don't immediately pick up the first article that confirms the way you already are from a meat industry study, and that you actually have a couple of brain cells to rub together. I'm being condescending now, I apologize, but I'm getting angry about this because I hate the way animals are treated. That you can actually stand on firm ground. You will no longer have to insist upon other people and gaslight them to conform to your reality, but you will actually be able to step out in front of the crowd as a true leader, with everybody behind you, including the authorities, including the scientific experts. You will have legitimacy in your leadership and your rule, period.